I got the call from Jack's assistant at 8 a.m. She sounded nervous, like she was reading lines off a script. "Jack wants to see you. Urgent." I ignored the knot in my stomach and straightened my blazer. 14 years in this agency, why would I be anxious? I walked into the CEO's office expecting to discuss a new project. Instead, Jack's expression looked cold, almost predatory. "Whitley," he said, "we're letting you go." My heart pounded. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He kept going with stiff words. "You no longer fit the creative vision." I tried to gather my thoughts. "Jack, I've led some of our biggest successes." My mind raced back to campaigns I'd spearheaded, millions in revenue we'd brought in, nights I'd slept at the office to meet deadlines. He didn't flinch. He gave a dismissive shrug. "We're moving in a new direction." No mention of severance. No real explanation. He pressed a manila folder into my hands. Paperwork, official forms, a memo that basically read, "Thank you for your service." I stood there, stunned. I'd given this agency everything, and in the end, I was nothing but a name on a cut list. The final blow came when Jack avoided looking me in the eye. That's when I knew this was final. 15 minutes after that heart-shattering meeting, I was escorted to my desk by HR. They looked anywhere but at me, handing me a dull cardboard box. "Pack up your belongings," they mumbled. Coworkers, people I'd once mentored, slipped behind partitions or buried themselves in paperwork, refusing to meet my gaze. My hands shook as I placed photos, coffee mugs, and awards into the box. Every piece reminded me of the years I'd poured into this place. My phone kept buzzing, but I couldn't answer. I was numb. One of my juniors, Tara, passed by, eyes downcast. I remembered training her on brand strategy 2 years ago. She shot me an apologetic look, then scurried away. When you're labeled disposable, everyone treats you like you're contagious. When I tried to ask HR for clarification, they refused to say more. "This is a management decision," they repeated like robots. I signed the exit forms in a daze. Moments later, my Slack icon blinked. A message popped up, bright against the heartbreak. "Congrats on leading the new big campaign, Tara." My biggest project had just been reassigned. My junior, someone I'd personally coached, was taking full credit. 15 minutes, and I was already erased. I sat in my apartment that night, the cardboard box on the floor. It felt like a funeral for my career. The bright city lights outside only made my small living room seem lonelier. I couldn't bring myself to turn on the TV. Instead, I scrolled through old campaign files on my personal laptop, my best pitches, award-winning ads, testimonial emails from grateful clients. I'd kept backups for my portfolio, just in case. My eyes lingered on a photo of me and the team at an industry gala 7 years ago. Back then, we were unstoppable. We'd saved the agency from near bankruptcy during the 2020 crisis by landing a $4.7 million lifeline contract. That pitch had been my idea. I remembered the sweaty palms, the late-night coffee runs, the final moment when the client said yes. Now, that same company was treating me like a used napkin. It stung. The whisper network, as I called it, was the hush-hush system of politics inside the agency. I'd avoided it, not interested in kissing up to Jack or playing favorites. Apparently that made me expendable. My phone buzzed. A friend texted, "Heard the news, so unfair." Another wrote, "Jack's got it out for you." 14 years, all down the drain. I felt betrayed, used, and quietly furious. I spent the next week in a fog, barely answering calls. My sister insisted I take a break, so I crashed at her place, hoping a change of scenery would help me think straight. She was livid about what happened. "They can't just fire you like that," she hissed, pacing her living room. "You practically built that place." Despite her anger, she made sure I ate, slept, and took walks to clear my mind. It was like hitting life's reset button, but I still felt a dull ache whenever I thought about the job. One afternoon, in the middle of my sister's kitchen, my phone rang. The caller ID read private number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. A low, measured voice said, "Whitley, this Ethan Lang. I'm the majority investor at your former agency." My breath caught. Ethan owned 60% of the company's shares. He was the top dog behind the scenes. "I'm sorry about what happened," he began. "I didn't authorize it, and I believe there are deeper issues at the agency." Then came the shock. "I'd like to meet with you. Tonight, if possible." My sister and I exchanged a look. Whatever he wanted, it could change everything. The rooftop bar Ethan chose overlooked the city skyline. I spotted him immediately. Tall, silver-haired, radiating confidence. He waved me over to a private corner table. "I wasn't aware Jack fired you until last week," Ethan said, offering a quiet apology. "I didn't approve it. I believe there are deeper problems at the agency." My mind swirled with questions. Why did he care about my firing? He sipped his drink, then nodded toward me. "I did some digging. The agency's facing a reputation hit. Clients are leaving, and I suspect bad leadership is at the core." I swallowed hard. Jack's style had always been flashy, favoring those who flattered him. But I never realized the damage was big enough for Ethan to step in. Ethan's eyes hardened. "Tell me the truth, Whitley. Was Jack a good leader?" I thought of the late nights, the toxic environment, the desperate cling to remain in Jack's good graces. "He's charismatic," I started carefully, "but he values ego over talent." Ethan's tone turned serious. "I can't leave my investment in the hands of someone incompetent. I need to know everything you've seen, everything you've learned." His intensity hinted at a plan, one that might shake the entire agency to its core. When Ethan and I moved our conversation to a quieter, more secluded lounge area, I pulled out the personal notes I'd kept. They weren't official corporate documents, more like my own records and files I'd saved for reference. I showed him suspicious moments, people forced out, ignored exit interviews, doctored performance reviews. "These are from coworkers who trusted me with their stories," I explained. I also had some access to exit interview data through a friendly HR contact before my email was shut down. It outlines toxic practices Jack was covering up. Ethan's expression darkened. "I've checked the financials too. There's a possibility of fraud or at least serious misrepresentation." He flipped through the pages, pausing at certain paragraphs. "This is bigger than I thought." My stomach twisted. It felt strange to be here, quietly exposing the man I'd once reported to. But Jack's betrayal still stung, and I couldn't let his toxic grip ruin more careers. Ethan leaned closer, voice low. "Let's shake the tree." A hint of a smile spread across his face. "I'm filing a notice for an emergency board meeting. The agenda, reviewing the CEO's performance." He slid a business card across the table. "I want you there as my proxy, fully authorized. I need you to present what you know. Will you do it?" My answer was immediate, yes. 2 days later, Ethan made it official. He filed a notice for an emergency board meeting, citing executive leadership concerns. Inside corporate circles, that's code for big trouble. Word traveled fast. Emails, phone calls, and hushed hallway conversations started swirling at the agency. People smelled blood. The board meeting was set for the following week. Ethan texted me a simple update. "You'll have my proxy. Be ready." I paced my tiny living room, scanning each piece of evidence I had. Not just my own experiences, but also stories from former colleagues who had left under suspicious circumstances. Some had told me they felt stifled or threatened. Others said Jack forced them to sign NDAs that hid unethical practices. That night, I got a frantic call from a friend still at the agency. "Jack's going ballistic," she whispered. "He's been in closed-door meetings all day. He knows something's up." The next morning, I woke to an email from Ethan with a formal letter attached, naming me as his voting proxy at the upcoming session. My heart thumped against my ribcage. This was real. I was about to stand in a room with top executives and challenge the man who'd fired me without warning. And I couldn't wait. The week leading up to the board meeting was a blur of phone calls and Zoom sessions. I was gathering testimony from former staff who'd experienced Jack's manipulations firsthand. Each conversation reminded me how carefully he'd hidden his tracks. But when you pile small truths together, you get a mountain of evidence. A contact named Danielle, once a senior account manager, revealed something jaw-dropping. A client was bribing Jack to secure exclusive ad placements, ignoring other potential partnerships. It smelled like corruption. "I didn't know where to report it," she said. "Jack threatened to blacklist me if I spoke up." My laptop grew cluttered with screenshots, voice recordings, and written statements. I was drowning in the reality of how toxic things had become. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from an unknown number. "I have more info," a shaky voice said. They refused to give their name, but promised documents linking Jack to hush money paid to keep negative press away. My chest tightened. "I'll come forward, anonymously," they added. By the end of the day, I had a folder labeled Whistleblower Files. These were game changers. I realized then, if Jack was going to fight, he had no idea how strong my case had become. It didn't take long for Jack to strike back. A former colleague texted me a rumor that I'd been fired for performance issues. Another rumor claimed I'd mishandled confidential client data. Both were complete lies, but it was classic Jack. Smear the whistleblower, destroy their reputation before they can speak. I watched as a niche industry blog published a rumor that I was difficult to work with and had lost us a big account last year. I snorted. That account had thrived under my direction. But in the public eye, mud sticks if you don't wash it off quickly. Just as I was about to lose it from frustration, Ethan called. "He's making his move," he said calmly. "We expected this. You have everything you need to prove your side. Let him dig his hole deeper." My throat felt tight. What if he ruins my chances to work anywhere else? It was a gnawing fear. If the industry believed Jack's lies, I'd never get a decent position again. Ethan's voice steadied me. "Trust me, the truth is on your side. Are you ready to strike first?" I swallowed hard. "Yes," I said. "I'm done letting him control the narrative." I attended a high-profile industry gala that same night. I almost didn't go, but Ethan insisted. "Show them you're unafraid," he said, "and let Jack see you." The venue glowed with chandeliers and swirling spotlights. People mingled, sipping cocktails and discussing new campaigns. My presence caused a stir. Colleagues approached, offering hush-hush support or pretending they hadn't heard the rumors. Then I spotted Jack across the room. He seemed to notice me at the same time. His face hardened, but he slicked on that CEO smile and sauntered over. "Whitley," he said, voice dripping with faux concern. "I heard you're stirring up some trouble with the board. We could have discussed any concerns privately." I fought the urge to roll my eyes. "I tried," I replied evenly. "You fired me before I could say a word." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "You have no idea what you're getting into." I smiled sweetly. "Actually, I do. I'm coming to the board meeting next week, with Ethan." His professional grin vanished. The color drained from his cheeks for a split second before he forced a sarcastic laugh. "Oh, good luck," but he couldn't hide the flicker of panic in his eyes. He knew something big was about to crash down. I received a cryptic text the next morning. "Meet me in the cafe at 10 a.m. A." It was from Ava, a senior creative who'd somehow managed to stay in Jack's favor. Still, I'd always sensed she was quietly uncomfortable with his leadership. At the cafe, Ava looked exhausted. She clutched her latte, eyes darting around. "I want out of Jack's shadow," she whispered. "I've got proof he's been faking campaign results." Then she slid a flash drive across the table. My heart hammered. "What's on there?" "Screenshots, internal memos. He inflated numbers to impress the board and justify big bonuses for himself." Her voice trembled. "He demanded I massage data. I have everything." I plugged the flash drive into my laptop right then and there. The evidence was blatant, side-by-side comparisons of real figures versus doctored ones. My stomach churned at the level of deceit. Ava's face paled. "That's not all. One memo suggests a certain board member knew about it." She pointed to a signature at the bottom of a suspicious email. I recognized the board member's name, a powerful figure who usually stayed in the background. "We can't let this slide," I said, powering off my laptop. Ava nodded, relief shining in her eyes. She wasn't alone anymore. With Ava's flash drive in hand, I arranged a private meeting with the implicated board member, Garrett. He was known for his calm demeanor, but when he saw what I had, his face went ghost white. "This can't be released," he croaked, flipping through the documents. I heard the genuine fear in his voice. Jack threatened to reveal a personal situation of mine if I didn't back him. I pressed him gently. "Garrett, you're protecting a toxic CEO. There are bribery deals, doctored results, and multiple ethics violations. It's bigger than your secret." He slumped in his seat. I felt trapped. I wanted to blow the whistle, but Jack made it clear he could destroy my reputation. I leaned forward. "Help me fix this. Do the right thing, and it'll go smoother for you. But if you resist, these facts will bury you both. I won't let him run free." His hands shook. Sweat beaded along his forehead. Finally, he spoke in a broken voice. "I'll testify. I can't keep quiet anymore." I stood up, relief flooding me. "You won't regret this." But even as I walked away, I felt the weight of what would happen next. Jack would find out Garrett flipped, and it would light the final fuse for the boardroom showdown. The emergency board meeting day arrived like a thunderstorm. Gray clouds hovered outside the office's skyscraper windows. My heart thumped so loud I could hear it in my ears. This was the same building I'd left with a cardboard box only weeks ago. But now I walked through the doors with renewed purpose. Security checked my ID, then showed me to the boardroom. The long mahogany table gleamed under bright lights. 12 board members sat in stiff chairs, scanning agenda packets. Jack was at the head of the table, trying to project confidence, but tapping his pen restlessly. Then Ethan stepped in. "I'm giving my proxy rights to Whitley," he announced to the room. Murmurs rippled. Jack's eyes narrowed. I took a seat beside Ethan. Jack forced a tight smile. "Let's begin, shall we?" I stood and placed a thick folder on the table. "Today's agenda: leadership at this agency. Let's talk about how things really function." My voice wavered slightly, but I steadied it with a deep breath. I started presenting the evidence. Testimonies, financial reports, screenshots. Each piece landed like a hammer blow. Jack tried to interrupt. I ignored him, continuing until the tension crackled. At the end, I closed the folder, meeting Jack's glare. This was only the opening salvo. Silence hung thick after my presentation. The board members flipped through the documents, stunned. Jack cleared his throat, forcing a laugh. "This is a personal attack," he spat. "Whitley was fired for poor performance. She's twisting data to get revenge." I refused to back down. "Then explain why these exit interviews describe a hostile work environment, or why actual campaign metrics differ from your official reports." The CFO, Marisol, raised her hand. I cross-referenced the real numbers with Jack's monthly updates. She gave him a pointed look. "They don't match. I've suspected something for months." Jack's composure faltered. He scrambled to defend himself. "We refine numbers for client pitches all the time." Ethan shook his head. "There's a difference between refining and outright lying." The tension was unbearable. I watched sweat bead on Jack's temple. With the evidence on the table, Ethan glared at the board. "We can't ignore this. It's hurting our reputation. We need a vote of no confidence." Jack slammed his fist down. "You won't get the votes. I built this agency." But the CFO slid a piece of paper forward. "You haven't been paying attention," she said softly. "We all see the damage now." Ethan's voice cut in. "Motion to remove Jack as CEO. All in favor?" Jack's face twisted with rage as hands went up around the table. One by one, each board member voted against him. Even Garrett, the one Jack had blackmailed, bravely raised his hand. Jack exploded. "This is a setup. You're all insane." He glared at me, his face flushed. "You planned this from the start, didn't you?" Memories of the humiliating day I was forced to pack my things flashed through my mind. My voice trembled, but I managed. "You gave me no choice. You made a toxic workplace. People have suffered." He spun toward Ethan. "You can't do this. You're throwing the company under the bus." Ethan remained calm. "Jack, you did this to yourself. The numbers and testimonies don't lie." I took a breath, deciding to drop the final bomb, a legal complaint. I slid it across the table. Multiple employees are prepared to file for harassment, fraud, and breach of contract unless the board removes you and initiates corrective action. Jack stared at the complaint in shock. Nobody said a word. Finally, the board chairperson spoke. "The vote is unanimous. Effective immediately, Jack Bennett is removed from his role." He yelled in protest, but security soon appeared. Just like that, Jack's reign came crashing down. The tension lingered in the room long after Jack stormed out. Board members looked at one another uneasily, like they'd just awakened from a long nightmare. Ethan broke the silence. "We need interim leadership." All eyes swiveled to me. The board chair cleared his throat. "Whitley, will you step in as interim CEO? We trust your vision." I hesitated. I dreamed of leadership, but not under these dramatic circumstances. The betrayal and the boardroom battle had left me drained. "I appreciate the offer," I began, "but I have one condition. If I accept, I want real authority to change the culture from top to bottom. No half measures." A few nodded in agreement. Ethan gave a slight smile. "You'll have it if you accept." I took a moment to steady my voice. "Then I'll do it. But the agency needs a complete overhaul. I'm not here to maintain the status quo." A hum of relief passed through the room. I'd officially stepped into Jack's place, but it wasn't about revenge or a power grab. It was about setting things right. Immediately, I spent 3 days mapping out a bold restructuring plan. I refused to be a puppet. I needed full power to rehire talented individuals forced out by Jack's toxic tactics. I wanted an internal audit that would reveal every shady practice buried in the files. Ethan supported me completely. "Whatever you need, do it," he said. He gave me a 6-month time frame and promised not to interfere unless absolutely necessary. The moment I stepped into my temporary office, a far cry from Jack's plush corner suite, my phone started ringing off the hook. Former employees heard I was rebuilding. People who'd resigned or were pushed out were ready to come back, if I have them. One by one, I offered them roles in the new agency structure. Meanwhile, legal battles brewed. Jack threatened to sue for wrongful removal. My attorney, Morgan, shot back with the evidence we'd gathered, filing a countersuit for fraud and misconduct. The media picked up tidbits of the drama, fueling industry gossip. I tried to stay focused. This wasn't just about me or personal revenge. It was about restoring trust. But in the back of my mind, I worried that Jack wouldn't let go quietly. Jack's lawsuit arrived via official courier the following week, claiming defamation and wrongful termination. Morgan looked unimpressed. "He has no ground to stand on," she said, flipping through the pages, "but we'll respond swiftly." We filed our counter-lawsuit, highlighting every shred of evidence, the fraudulent metrics, intimidation tactics, and hush money trails. It was airtight. Jack's reputation took a public beating in trade publications. Sponsors began distancing themselves. Even longtime contacts suddenly ghosted him. Within days, the tide turned. A major client who'd left during Jack's reign called our account director. "We're considering coming back," they said, "but only if Whitley remains in charge. We trust her." Ethan grinned when he relayed the news. "They know you're honest. This is a huge victory." My heart soared. These were the same clients Jack had claimed I'd lost due to incompetence. Hearing they wanted me back felt vindicating. We used that momentum to further secure our rebuilding effort, planning a major press announcement about our new direction. At night, though, I still fought insomnia. I'd replay the meltdown in the boardroom and worry about potential sabotage from Jack. But every new day brought a fresh reminder. The agency was healing and his power was slipping away. A respected industry journalist named Carmen Cho reached out, requesting an interview about the agency's recent shakeup. I agreed, deciding transparency would help us move forward. She interviewed me for hours, carefully extracting details about Jack's leadership. I shared stories from employees, the changes we were implementing, and why the board felt removal was necessary. She also interviewed Ethan, staff members who had returned, and some who remained anonymous but confirmed the toxic environment. A week later, Carmen's exposé hit the media. The headline read, "Toxic Legacy: How One CEO Nearly Killed a Thriving Agency." It went viral in industry circles. The piece also highlighted the new vision, giving me credit for the fresh culture shift and praising Ethan for trusting me. Jack, on the other hand, appeared as the poster boy for everything wrong in modern advertising. He tried to release a statement calling the report one-sided, but nobody believed him. Potential employers saw the article and reportedly withdrew their offers. Ethan sent me the link. "They're calling you the agency's savior," he joked. "Feels better than disgruntled ex-employee, right?" It did. But in the background, I received tempting calls from other agencies. They saw my leadership potential and wanted me on their side. Suddenly, I had to decide, continue fixing my old home or start anew. One evening, I sat at my kitchen table, sifting through proposals from competitor agencies. The salaries were jaw-dropping, the creative freedom enticing. They saw me as a golden ticket, someone who'd proven they could bring about massive change. My phone rang. It was Ethan again. "Listen, Whitley," he began. "I know you're getting offers. Let me make my position clear. I want you to stay. I'm ready to propose you as permanent CEO with a 30% equity stake. We need your leadership." My heart pounded. Years ago, I never imagined holding such a huge share in the company where I started as an intern. I realized the scope of what Ethan was offering. Real power, real ownership, and the chance to finally shape an agency on my own terms. I told him I'd think about it and hung up. My mind raced with possibilities. If I left, I'd join a new environment free of old baggage. If I stayed, I'd be diving deeper into the mess but potentially making something incredible. I weighed my dreams against my loyalty, my exhaustion against my determination. Finally, as the city lights blinked outside my window, I knew my answer. I wouldn't run. I'd stay and finish what I started. The next morning, I accepted Ethan's offer on one condition: total freedom to restructure the agency. He agreed without hesitation. A formal announcement went out, calling me the new permanent CEO and 30% owner. My phone blew up with congratulatory messages. I wasted no time. I launched an internal initiative called Voices First. It was simple. Every employee, from interns to senior execs, would have direct access to a monthly town hall. People could share concerns, ideas, or improvements openly. A dedicated internal team would handle complaints quickly, ensuring no voice was lost in bureaucratic layers. 60 new policies rolled out over the next few weeks, including flexible work hours, mental health support, transparent salary structures, and clear anti-harassment guidelines. Senior leaders attended workshops on fair leadership. Some older managers scoffed at first, but soon realized I was dead serious. The difference was immediate. People seemed happier, more creative. Projects flowed smoother. Clients noticed the positive shift in our office culture. Even the break room chatter changed. More supportive, more honest. Then, out of the blue, a resume landed on my desk. It was from a former rival executive who had once belittled me. Now he wanted to join. He wrote, "I see what you're building. I'd be honored to be part of it." Talk about a 180. With our newly rebuilt leadership team and the Voices First initiative in full swing, the entire agency felt alive. We dusted off an old campaign concept that Jack had shelved for being too experimental. The creative team refined it, tested it, and launched it. Within days, the campaign went viral on social media. Clients were thrilled, and so were we. Reporters called, curious about our turnaround. I gave credit to the staff. "They're the ones who stuck around or returned to make this happen," I said. "I'm just creating space for their voices." The numbers spoke for themselves. Revenue jumped 20% within one quarter. Contracts were renewed, and new leads poured in, all wanting to partner with the agency under fresh management. Morale soared to heights I'd never seen before. I paused one day in the hallway, watching a creative brainstorming session. Laughter, excitement, genuine respect. I realized we'd done something remarkable, turned a toxic space into a thriving powerhouse. Then an email pinged. The subject read, "1-year anniversary campaign." It hit me. Almost a year since my firing. I'd come full circle, from cast aside to CEO. The irony wasn't lost on me. But there was still more to do, and I felt the pull of the next big challenge. 1 year passed in a blur of hard work and incredible wins. Our agency shattered records, bagging some of the biggest accounts in the market. We dominated industry events, not with arrogance, but with genuine teamwork and passion. People noticed. I got nominated for an Industry Leadership Award, a prestigious honor that Jack had once claimed for himself off my labor. The ceremony was in a grand ballroom. As I walked in, wearing a sleek black dress, I couldn't help but remember the last time I'd sat in this audience. Then I was just another employee, overshadowed by Jack's flashy performance. Now I was the CEO, recognized for the exact qualities he deemed unimportant. When my name was called for the award, I stepped onto the stage, heart pounding. Lights flashed, applause thundered. I accepted the honor with a brief speech. "This isn't just for me, it's for everyone who refused to be silenced, who brought their creativity and courage to work every day." Later, backstage, I was gathering my notes when I stumbled upon an old email from Jack in my phone's archives. It read, "You lack leadership qualities. You're just not built for the top." I stared at it for a moment, then burst out laughing. How wrong he'd been. At the awards gala reception, I never expected to see Jack. But there he was, leaning against a wall in a cheap suit. He looked thin, worn out, a shadow of the man who'd once run the show. His eyes flicked to the award in my hands. He approached slowly, clearing his throat. "Congratulations," he muttered. "I wanted to say..." He seemed lost, stumbling over words. I raised an eyebrow, waiting. Finally, he blurted, "I know I messed up, okay? I'm not looking for pity. Just maybe we can bury the hatchet." Part of me felt anger coil in my chest, remembering the cold way he'd dismissed me, but another part saw how broken he looked. "Jack, you taught me something," I said quietly. He straightened, a brief flicker of hope in his eyes. "Yeah?" I nodded. You showed me exactly who I never want to become. I couldn't help the tight smile. And for that, I guess I should thank you. His expression faltered. He looked like he wanted to argue, but no words came. After an awkward beat, he mumbled a half-hearted goodbye and slipped away. I felt a wave of relief. This was closure, no grudges, just a clean break from a toxic past. I stepped back into the agency the morning after the gala, the award still on my desk. It felt surreal. Less than 2 years ago, I'd been a cast-off. Now I ran what was being called the most admired agency in the industry. The place buzzed with energy. People collaborated in open areas, pitched bold ideas, and embraced feedback without fear. I held an all-hands meeting. Everyone from interns to executives crammed into the main conference area. Clearing my throat, I started, I just want to say thank you. This isn't about one person's success. It's about what we built together. Heads nodded. I could see the pride in their eyes. I continued. When I was fired, I felt disposable. But I learned something important. Real leadership isn't given, it's proven. And every day, each of you proves we can do better. We can treat each other with respect, stand up for what's right, and still create amazing work. Applause erupted. I watched faces light up, from the new hires fresh out of college to the veterans who'd survived Jack's regime. This was our new standard. A place where talent thrived, voices mattered, and nobody got trampled under ego. Smiling, I closed with a final vow. We're just getting started.